All right, thanks, Lloyd. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hey, good, yeah, warm audience. Excellent, thank you. I'm actually glad Martin gave his talk, because there's quite a bit of an overlap between the two of us. And you've had the glamour, and I was kind of trying my best to come over from Manchester to Yorkshire and insult as many of you as I can. And I thought yours was quite tame until you then insulted half the population. I'm sure you'll live to regret that. But basically, I work as an Agile EA. Let's call it consultancy, but actually also still code. EA is enterprise architecture for those people that might not know what that is. But it seems like a bit of an oxymoron. How can you have Agile enterprise architecture? Well, actually, there's a chance a lot of the teams are doing it already. The idea of having the product owners and people working together on a particular task is not new to the Agile community. And actually, this works at enterprise scale as well, despite what many people might like you to believe. But in all the work that I typically do, to make sure this is working, I come across a sworn enemy. This guy. The organization chart. The organogram. People are familiar with organograms. Hands up if you know what they are. Only a few of you know what how many people work in enterprises, companies, something like that? How many people have a boss? How many people's bosses have bosses? So you have an organization chart. It's a hierarchy. It's a tall one. Right? And the more bosses you have, until you get to the very top, the bigger the hierarchy. Now, the reason why I don't like this is because it kind of silos people into departments. Yeah, and we know that's bad, but why? Right? Well, it's convenient to think about. People like to think, okay, I'm the finance director, I have people under me. I'm the finance manager, I have people under me. And you keep going down and down and down. Everybody has a finance function. But actually, that's not necessarily the way the work itself goes. And I'll come on to this later on. But we're just as guilty about that in our industry, in the Agile community, as the silos of departments can also be. If I was to ask you, who's the business? Right? You may have heard some of these terms before. Right? But actually, remember, the business is only us. When we develop architectures, we develop them not just for the clients that we have, but also, hopefully, to make the developers' lives easier. In fact, when we do refactoring, we do so to clean up code, don't we? Yeah? Anybody disagree with that statement? No. Right. Which is good. It's a good start. So, to illustrate some of the problems that some of these, if you like, silos can cause, I'm going to play a little game in a minute. And anybody who comes up here, I'll ask them to put their name on a piece of paper, because I'll enter you into a draw to give you £10 of either iTunes vouchers, Google Play vouchers. I'll buy your loyalty one way or the other. But before I get onto that, I want to talk a little bit about context switching. Now, is anybody familiar with the term? If you know what that is, you're about to see it in action. Okay? Now, what I need, if that's okay, guys, is a set of volunteers. 3 people who are willing to show their faces to the world, and 2 people who are willing to, one, write some stuff down, and the other one to time something. Who's willing to come up and volunteer? I will pick people if you don't choose voluntarily. Anybody? We have 2 gentlemen there. 3. Feel free to come up. Right? And just the 3 players, could you please just stand in a semicircle if you like around here. We'll come on to that. Right. Stand next to the gentleman. Right. And could we have a timer and a writer? How many people know how to write? I'm not going to do it. You got exactly. Are you sure? Excellent, perfect. Has anybody got a stopwatch on their phone? Just recruiting for a stopwatch. Okay, perfect, good man. So, excellent. Right. So here's the deal. How many people know of the name game? Or played it before? Some people have played it before. No. It's pretty straightforward. Do you guys know your own names? Great start. Just, yeah, how much have you had to drink? It depends, doesn't it? But basically what I'd like, we're going to run this twice. Just like every good set of experiments, you at least have to have a control. Yeah? So let's do the first one. If you'd like to come in as a sort of slightly semicircular point, yeah? And as long as you know your names, right? The first time I want you to run it, this is for the players themselves, I want you to say the first letter of your first name, then do some jazz hands or some other signal so that you get to say the first letter of your first name, jazz hands. You say the first letter of your first name, jazz hands. And once you've done that, you say the second letter of your first name, and you keep going through the cycle. Does that make sense? Yeah? And when you've finished spelling out your name, just put your hand up. No more jazz hands. At that point, you can, if you're really, really worried about the jazz hands thing and you have a really shortened nickname, you can use that instead. Right? Mr. Writing Down, sir. As they spell their names, you, on a separate line of sheet paper, obviously, write down their names as they spell it out. Pretty straightforward, yep. And when you've finished, give a thumbs up once you've completely finished, as long as everybody's got their names, and you see 3 sets of hands up, put your thumbs up. Mr. Timer, sir. Obviously, we'll start when you say the word go, and you finish when you see his thumb go up. Yeah? Please be tall. Right? Excellent. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yep. So does everybody understand what we're doing here? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so each person's name on the same line. Exactly. Right. Excellent. Does everybody understand? Everybody else in the room understand what we're doing here? Yeah? Are you ready to start the timer? On your marks, you know what you're doing. You know your names. Everything's ready. Good. Okay. On your marks, get set, go.
J.
Yeah.
O.
Yeah.
C.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
L.
Yeah.
O.
Yeah.
M.
Yeah.
E.
L. Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
N. I.
Yeah.
S.
Yeah.
N.
Thumb up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Thumb up. Yeah. What was that? What time?
Bang on 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Right. 15 seconds. Cool. Okay. I won't ask you if you want to do that again, because that was embarrassing for the first time, I'm sure. The second time, though, we wanted to do something slightly differently. This time, you can ditch the jazz hands. I can hear the relief from here. Right? The same process applies. The same structure applies. The same company structure, the organogram, if you like, applies. Does that make sense so far? So, of course, you're timing again, sir. Yep. Obviously, you're writing the names down as per normal. But this time, you just spell your name, and when you've finished, then just put your hand up. When you see him put his hand up, you start spelling your name. Yep. Until you've finished, put your hand up. When you see, obviously, him putting his hand up, you just say, okay. You're smart guys, you can figure this out. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah? We all cool?
Yeah.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
On your marks, get set, go.
J.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
M.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
S.
Yeah.
O.
Yeah.
L.
Yeah.
E. N.
Yeah.
C. O. L. I. N.
Yeah.
Okay. Time.
13 seconds.
13 seconds, right? So we're getting faster, right? Some people need a little bit work on spelling the name, but yeah, they're doing quite well. Exactly. Right? Well done anyway.
Well, slow it down so it's not any longer.
Exactly. Yeah, but even then, the point about it, even then, you still came in under 2 seconds. Yeah. Big round of applause to the volunteers, please. Yeah, you can sit down. You were so strong not to do the jazz hands. I know it was going. And thank you very much for writing down the first set of names on the list, please. I'll have that later, obviously. Excellent. Right. Let's explore what actually happened there. Right. Think the structure of the organization was exactly the same, wasn't it, in both times? Do we agree with that? But the behavior of them was different the second time to the first time. We compared against the control, and we came in faster. Yeah. Is that agreed with everybody? Anybody disagree with that statement? Yeah? What's the obvious reason why we came in faster? Any guesses?
One way to start.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
When each person was saying
Yeah.
a letter and the name, they're having to think what was the last letter, because it was so long ago.
That's one possibility. Yep. Any other opportunities? Yep.
You were in the triggers for the trigger sign to start.
Yep. Okay. Any others?
Start with one thing, finish one thing.
Finish one thing as well. All of these are really valid reasons. Some of it was about context switching. Right? That means, what I mean by context switching is most people understand that as either a processor multitasking or a person multitasking. Now, despite what some people might want to believe about the differences between males and females, the science is that everybody's really bad at multitasking, full stop. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. That's a science. The difficulty you've got is that anybody, therefore, that has to multitask is in a disadvantageous position. Sometimes it can take as long as 15 minutes just to get up to scratch on whatever it is you're doing, to then have an interruption by a phone or by an urgent issue or the house burning down if that's inconvenient for you. But the point about it is every context switch you do slows things down. Now, what was interesting about that, though, going back to the organization chart, is that the structure was exactly the same. The difference was the behavior. But that's systems. Whether it's human systems, computer systems, whatever it is, there's only 2 things you ever need. The first one is statics, the structure of the organization. The second thing is the dynamics, how it behaves. Right? You have to have both of those to have a system. Anybody remember the organization chart I showed you at the beginning? Did that have behavior or flow anywhere in it? No. So therefore, in itself, it's not a system. But unfortunately, people think of it as a system, which it is not. Right? So context switching we've covered. It comes from the IT world, as you can tell by the word computationally. But in reality, it applies across any system, full stop. That means people, if you, Lego, Meccano, whatever it is, right? If you ever context switch, yeah. Right? So reduce context switching. Because everything you ever do is about flow. Right? Flow of money into a system, into a company. Flow of work out the door. These are all related as well. Right? If you sell something, you get money in, you get revenue, yeah? Which then pays for the hurdle rate mentioned earlier, adequately by Martin, because you cost the company something. We are in this together. We cost the company something as developers, engineers, whatever. Yeah? We cost the company something. So we have to make more than we cost. Otherwise, we're somewhat of an embarrassment. The point being, whichever way you look at systems, whether you're looking at it through a business eyes, in terms of process, UML, for those people that are old enough to remember what that is, or Kanban, it's all about flow. You have to optimize flow. The faster you get stuff out, the less the variance. The faster you get stuff out, the greater the rate of return on your funds. You can tie these to accounting process, and the first inconvenient truth, pardon me, is that unfortunately some people in the accounting and corporate finance space know this better than we do. People who do operations research know this better than we do. People who do statistics can also know this better than we do. Anybody who's ever studied queuing theory, process calculus, knows this better than we do. It's embarrassing. So we're sat there shouting about Kanban from the walls, and actually they're looking at us going, you bunch of amateurs. So we've got to kind of raise our game to some degree. But the saving grace is if you know how things work at your organization, whether you have to kind of ask Mr. Purse Strings to give you a server or funds for a server, right? You know where to look. You know where to ask the question. You know where the work goes. You can map those across your organization. Yeah? You know where the work goes. You know where the requests go. All the kind of pulls. Give me money so I can buy a server. Give me authority so I can do whatever. Every time you ask for something, that's effectively a switch of the task from your hands, the begging plate, if you like, to someone else's hands. That's a context switch. If, for example, you ask for a server, or ask for the funds for a server, you have that piece of work now goes to finance. And then, of course, eventually it comes back to you. Imagine a world where we could eradicate that pointless loop. What a utopia that might be. But unfortunately, it doesn't exist here. Yeah? Because in reality, value chains manifest here on the ground. Until you actually get something out the door, all you've done is spend money. Right? Pretty obvious, huh? Nothing special there. Now, even if you start mapping out all these exercises, you start to see where the real flow is. I mean, people think, oh, Kanban goes to here, across from a peasant to a resource to a worker bee. But actually, remember, it actually goes up a level. Yeah? We optimize, unfortunately, or rather, often these organograms are optimized, sadly, for reporting. Right? How many times a year do you actually need to report? How many people here run their own limited company, either as a contractor or something else? Yeah, so you've got quite a few people here on their own company here. How often do you have to report to Companies House? You have to. Submit a tax return, say. 12 months, yeah? So once a year. Right? So imagine if you're trying to optimize all the work you do just for that one time a year, you kind of, yeah? Let's be realistic. FTSE 100 companies will have millions of value transactions going through here. First unknown statistic, perhaps. Studies published, I believe at the end of last year, corroborated previous studies which stated that about 40% of an organization exists to manage waste. So if you've got a budget, a spend, if you like, of £100 million, 40 million pounds of that is just managing waste. Often middle management. So flattening the hierarchy answers the IBM question you asked earlier. You flatten the hierarchy, because you're becoming more effective at managing your own stuff. You don't have to worry about the waste as much, therefore you don't have to manage managers just to kind of make the cup of tea. Because you. So, little known fact, rather. And I'm going to ask this to the audience. Let's talk about Companies House accounts. If you're late submitting your accounts to Companies House, how much as a PLC do you think they can penalize you if you're 6 months late? A PLC, FTSE 100 company, maybe 2 billion turnover a year. How much do you think they could charge you as a penalty if you're 6 months late? So would you look at £1 million? Hands up for £1 million. Any people? No? 2 million? 10 million? Unlimited fines. That sounds scary, doesn't it? Unlimited fines. The answer is so I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm kind of a bit obsessed with numbers, but £40 million versus, no, I'm not missing zeros. That is £7,500. Now, of course, most organizations who are in the FTSE 100 have other types of risks they have to manage, shareholder value, that sort of thing. If their market cap is 80% of the shareholders are saying, "Oh, you didn't file your accounts, what's going on?" They'll kind of get spooked and just run for the hills, bolting horses and all that. But that's it. You couldn't employ someone full time. You see the problem with that, right? You can't. So the point about it is these organizations are optimizing for, again, we talked about the value chain before, they're optimizing for this reporting thing because that's what an organogram does. But the truth is that's your value. This is pointless. It's completely pointless. Right, so if you attempt to try to convince me that an organogram is a good idea, then frankly, I've got something to tell you. Moving on. Talking about flow. Game number 2. We're going to talk a little bit about inventory and throughput. Now, there might be a few incarnations of this game, or if we're running short for time, I'll kind of publish these slides. Feel free to take that away and play around with it. But I have Lego. What I'll need from you guys is 2 whole departments worth of people. Let's say 2 managers, each of them having 2 people, that's 6 people in total. Who's willing to put themselves forward to either be a manager or a worker? Who's willing? And I will pick people. We've got 1. Thank you very much, sir. Feel free to come and take your space. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Really fast. Any others? Oh, by the way, you can have your name twice on the list if you want to win 10,000 worth of vouchers. So, any others? Any others? Oh, we've got another one. Yes, you absolutely. So you really love those vouchers. Come on. Yeah, I like this guy. What's your name, by the way?
James.
And you see it? Yeah. What's your name?
Peter.
Peter. James Peter. Thank you.
You spelled his name, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. I've got you. Yeah, I'm context switching. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Any others? We've got 3 more we require. 3 more. Oh, you see, this a brave man. Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, exactly. That's a team. Exactly. So perfect. Now we just need 2 managers. Anybody else? Just 2 managers. Who likes to be managers? Okay, I'm going to be one if you don't. Let's go. And I'm not a very good manager, so.
Go on, I'll
Yeah,
be a
go
manager then. Go on then.
Got 1 more because I don't want you. I want to talk. I don't want to. Right, so, okay, so we've got Roy as a manager, right? Anybody else? Go on. 1 more. Who likes to be managers? Who wants to be managers? Don't you start with his stuff. Now that's not that. So yeah, exactly. Go on. Let's have. I'm going to try and pick something. What can I do? You know what I mean? If I hold out a $100 bill. Oh, welcome. Yes. Come along, sir. Well done. Give him a big round of applause while he gets up here. Thanks very much. Much obliged. So, excellent. Right, it's pretty straightforward, this one. We just need 2 teams. Thanks for coming up by that. Yeah, good throw. I didn't target you. It's not exactly salesman. No, don't tell them I used to be a shop boy. Anyway, you guys are a manufacturing line. Yeah. You're going to make something. Lego. We all know how to use Lego, I'm assuming. Oh no, you can stay here. That's fine. If you want to come around this way, and if you're blinded by the light, don't stand in it. We need 2 teams. Right? The managers, please stay over this side. So I'll talk to you separately. Yeah? Gentlemen in team 1. I think I'll give you team 2. That's it. Yep. In team 1. There you go. See what this is? Yeah. Oh, what do they call this thing? Oh, hold on. I just forgot what this is. No. This flamingo green. Tree! There you go. Right, so we've got a tree here. Look, this is my Lego here. Look, this is the best I can do. I'm not an artistic man. We have a trunk. Familiarize yourselves with this, because you'll have to build them in a bit. And we have the branches and the leaves and stuff. Yeah? Feel free to familiarize yourself with these. We only have 2 boxes. Yeah. There you go. Excellent. So, okay. Whilst you guys are familiarizing yourselves with this, you guys are managers. 1 for each team. You may get a phone call during managing your stuff. Yep. And you have to answer the phone. Yep. Can you do this? Let me just check. Can you do this? Yeah. And can you do that? Yeah. Okay. And just put. Does that work? I can do it. Yeah, you can do it. Excellent. Brilliant. We're there. Oh, what a fantastic organization I've just built. Right. So what you've got to do is each of you have to manage one of your teams. So feel free for another manager to come along here. Now the way this works, and you're building this tree. Oh. Okay. Yep, take your
managers to form a management position.
Indeed, exactly. So what you have is a typical organogram structure here. Right? We have 2 workers, 1 manager.
Stood on something.
Exactly. That's okay. You can look down upon them from there. And obviously, you guys are another department, right? And we're going to watch the work go across from department to department. wonderful value additions are going to build this thing, which is the trunk of the tree. It isn't, yeah. We don't have many of them in Manchester, unfortunately. Right? And the other group are going to build this set of branches and leaves. Yeah? And and of course, the managers have to communicate with each other when they need the work to be progressed from one department to the other. Yeah? Or if they're short of branches and, if you're short of trunks, you can
We
obviously...
don't care about trunks over
No.
here. We just care
Oh,
about
yes, you can if you want. But of course, things have to be done at an enterprise scale. You don't get full value until you've built a tree. I don't like bushes. No, maybe I no. So what you have to do is obviously ask the managers. You can only communicate through your managers. That's basically the rule. And you can't manage their stuff, and they can't manage, and you can't manage their stuff, his stuff. So that's that. You just have to communicate with them. Behave. Anyway, so all I want to do is time it again. I can time this one, I think, if I know what my phone looks like. So all we need to do is time how long it takes the work to be done. Yeah, we're going to build all these trees and see how long we can actually get value out of it for. So I'll just quickly get my timer up. So everybody clear on the rules. You build a tree, but of course you have to communicate via just the team.
So I need to phone up you
can even walk up to it if you wanted to.
I can walk.
But if you hear a beep from me, that might be a telephone call.
Ah, okay.
Or somebody very angry or something like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool,
Okay.
perfect. And this may happen to either of you managers. So are you ready to start building trees?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think so.
Come on, team cheer. Are you ready to start building trees? Yes, that's it. Well done. Right, great stuff. Right, okay, on your marks, gentlemen, for the people that put them together. Get set. Go.
Okay. So we need lots of trunks. We've got a fantastic leaf team here, but you guys are holding us up, and just deliver us as many trunks as you can, as fast as you can, and stop dragging the whole show down like you probably are.
Telephone. Phone.
Oh, phone. Okay. Hello.
Who is it?
What?
Okay, you want?
What am I doing?
You can put the phone down, when you finish the call.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Go along. Exactly. Keep going.
Okay, keep going. Right.
So how many bushes have you guys made?
So we haven't made anything yet.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for these dudes over here. They're just
Are you
taking
ready?
too
Just
long.
waiting? Okay. Go.
Yeah. Is the clock ticking?
Yeah,
You
stick.
see, I just want you to know
How much are you paying these guys an hour, Wood? Your guys are.
Or would you like us to feed them to you?
we don't want a half-done job.
Phone.
We just want the whole
Phone. Somebody
thing
pick up the phone.
done. Yeah, I think we do anyway. So,
Hello? Phone.
is that the phone again?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, 'cause I saw you missed it. Anyway, that's okay. How are the things going? How many trees have you built?
We're doing great. We've got a fantastic team. We're doing fantastically. Unfortunately, we're let down by these guys that are taking
God.
ages to.
Build a trunk. Oh,
I don't know what they're trying
No,
to
no,
grow
no.
trees or something.
That's not very
It's
good.
like watching trees grow.
Oh, dear. As the phone's going, no one's answering the phone anymore. It's just. So, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Keep on.
Okay, Kai team. So, guys, we need to leap into action then and get some leaves, get those trees foliaged.
I'm on a holiday.
I would shuffle these along the table, but as a management type guy, I don't want to touch the actual work there.
That sort of thing you had in mind?
Oh, that looks great. Yeah, you guys are fantastic. I can see the major problems is what the trunkage there, aren't they? But foliage on top, obviously, guys, you're doing a fantastic job. I will be reporting that to anybody that will listen to me.
Got a problem, boss.
Oh, what's the problem?
Is that standard parts?
Ah, okay. Oh, that's probably some supplier that we've got. That'll be their problem. That'll be their fault. Yeah.
So we don't have the right colour to make any more trees.
Oh, you
that's
just
a
have to.
shame.
You'll have to improvise.
Sure.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I know that you guys will overcome that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And cut. You guys make fantastic actors. Oscar-winning. Clap for everybody, please. Right. Excellent. Thanks, guys.
I've been
Right.
managed in that way all my life.
Yeah,
I'm-
exactly. No, you're going to do this again. Don't worry about it. So out of interest, by the point at which I wound up the company, it was 2 minutes and 45 seconds that took to produce what we produced so far. Yeah. Do you guys feel proud of the work you did?
From that side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think to be fair, if I was just selling tree trunks, we'd be doing well here, right?
Well, that would be pretty well considering I had no instructions from the
I know, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You say so.
Well, you don't expect instructions from your boss, do you?
So let's now look at what's happening here. The blame game has started. The truth of the matter is, though, if you look at how long that took, and if you imagine we're paying you for every 15 seconds of work that you did, yep, we've paid them 11 times. And if we sold, let's for the sake of argument, say we paid every person here a whole 100 Monopoly pounds, right? For every 15 seconds that they did. That's
A lot.
yeah, a lot. So that's 1,100 Monopoly pounds we've paid everybody, right? No, is that what? 1,100 pounds that we paid the teams, if you like, for that period of time. And if we sell each tree at £300, we now have a defect, a poor relation, let's call it.
It's the trunk.
Yeah, I know. It's always that's a problem, right? Yeah. Stay. So we've got 3 full trees, but remember, I made this one. 3 full trees at £300. Yeah. Right? So if you like, in that process, we have lost 200 Monopoly pounds. Okay? So in terms of delivering value, tying what you said earlier, Mike, you've lost 200 Monopoly pounds. So have you hurdled your own cost? No. So who do we need to fire? Right? Joking aside, let's play this game again, but this time we'll run it differently. 2 teams, team 1, build a set of brown trunks, if you like, right? They must have a large blockers route as per normal. But you start to use Kanban. Now, the proper Kanban, for those people that know manufacturing, how many people are familiar with the term for manufacturing itself? Right, good, excellent. Right, now, people know the concept of a container. I'm going to call this a container, yeah? The container is effectively your spec. It tells you how many of each object you need to have in your thing. Right? Now, if you have an empty container and you throw it back to the guy behind you to say, fill this container up with stuff, what happens? They fill the container with stuff and submit it back to you. No more, no less. That is your specification. That is your pull signal. Yeah? We're going to try this again? Yeah? But this time, all I want you to do is, if they throw back this container, you fill it with only 2 trunks. Only 2. Don't overmake anything, just make 2. Yeah. You happy enough to manage that process? Excellent, perfect. So I'm going to put the empty containers here. And remember, you're just making 2 trunks, that's it. Of course, feel free to disassemble your work. Right? So, yeah. Is everybody clear with what happened the first time? Yep, so we kind of had this 2 hour, 45 minutes, and I wound the company down. So you kind of struggle with that. So, sorry. Perfect. So you're managing your team again as before? You might get phone calls.
I'm optimising the system here.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, feel free to optimize your own department, absolutely, yes. Yeah, so.
I'll even help this time as an enlightened Kanban student of management. I'll even help.
Right, is everybody's ready to watch this happen again?
Oh, sorry, okay.
Please don't let me go bankrupt twice. Excellent. Hey. Oh, you've got your model. They probably already know what they're doing, though. It's just one of those and another small one, an angled one, and other Lego bits. So this time around, just to be clear of the difference, they will only ever provide a batch of stuff within a container. That's it. Does that make sense? Yeah? No more, no less. You only want 2 items. And I'm over here, I will only want completed stuff. So I'm going to say to Royd, I want completed stuff. I want a complete tree. Don't give me any partial trees. Don't give me any trees with haircuts. Don't give me, don't give me trees that have been alcohol fueled. I just want a perfectly formed tree. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, guys. Yep. I'm going to just quickly start my having my force closed stopwatch again. On your marks, get set, go. Who's asked you to build something?
We need to, okay, guys, you need to send a signal.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
2 trunks, please.
Yeah.
2 decent trunks, please.
My work is done.
Yeah. You go on slack on. Yeah, not yet. But yeah, exactly. Keep going. What was your golf like? Was it?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So.
I'll just sit here doing nothing.
Yeah,
no, it's fine to sit here doing nothing because we're ready to react.
Yeah, there you go. There we go. Feel free to build yourself a one there. Yeah.
You could send a signal if you. Yeah, that's right. We could experiment with that.
Micromanagement here. Really bad.
Okay, we've got a queue now, so we've limited our queue size now, haven't we? So doing a great job.
Thanks, boss.
Oh, my trees. We're dying of no
You
oxygen.
guys should be relaxing. Oh, I think there you go. There you
A tree,
are.
fantastic.
There
Oh,
you
my
go.
first tree. That's
what
fun.
you
Oh, that's
wanted.
fantastic. Look at this. Round of applause for the tree.
There you are. That's another one. There
Oh,
we
look
go.
at this. They keep
Ah.
coming. Oh, baby trees.
Should
Excellent.
we send that one
Oh,
back? Yeah?
nice.
Send that one back. There
Oh,
we go.
brilliant.
We're out,
So,
we're out of stock.
Ah, okay. We need to send a signal further up the supply chain.
indeed, exactly. So, yeah. So. Oh, I've just got some money for these. I'm going to kind of give these guys some money for that. So that's got me 300, 600 pounds for that one. There are 2 trees, each of them 300 pounds, 300 Monopoly pounds, Monopoly dollars rather each. How much does that make in total?
There you go,
There
boss.
we go.
Oh
Customer,
dear,
there we go.
I
Right,
can't even get
tree, I
paid
think.
fast
There
enough. Oh,
you go.
fantastic, look at this. It keeps coming. Oh dear, 1, 2, 3, 4. There. So I'm just drowning in money.
There you go.
Look at this.
More. There we
And
go.
stop, yeah, perfect.
There we go.
So look at that. Less than 2 minutes that time. Ah, swim, bling, and stuff, whatever those young people do these days. So we've got under 2 minutes now in using this process. All right? And, best bit, we made 4 trees, under 2 minutes. There's 8 payments of £100 each. Right? That makes £800 in total. But we've got 4 trees out of that, each of them at 3, £1,200. We've made £400 profit. So optimizing your process improves the rate of return of cash, and therefore the rate at which you can start to get past the crossover point and start to make more money. Big round of applause for every one of our volunteers. You've been fantastic. I need some names from some of you. Exactly. So, right, I'll catch your names later, by the way. So yeah, thanks very much again, guys. So there are a couple of other options which are slightly better than that as well. Understanding how to parallelize tasks is better than that. Okay? I'll leave what will be number 3, the bonus material, later on. But basically, imagine having the same 2 managers who are now worried about their jobs, as is often claimed by the no estimates people that I kind of constantly find myself arguing with. The truth of the matter is, imagine you had a team where somebody makes trunks and somebody makes bushes, and you build these things in a while. Like DevOps. Who's heard of DevOps? Right. Because that is an end-to-end, or slightly more end-to-end process than it used to be. You're not now crossing the SysOps boundary anymore. SysOps boundary, right? So the point about this, though, is you've now got a slightly more optimum process, right? Because everybody's now doing that. But how many managers do you still have, if you like, or product? Let's call them product managers, product owners. You have still got 2. Who's lost their jobs? Nobody, right? So all this stuff where I find people in the no estimates community, especially, because I have blazing rows with them all the time, and I rant a lot. And they often claim that, well, people really fear for losing their jobs. Well, they do sometimes, but actually you can always illustrate that all you're doing is just doubling the capacity or more of the system by cutting out some of these context switching, by understanding how your flow works a bit better. And every time you make a change, we do retrospectives for developers. You've probably heard that term before, development teams, yeah? Every time you do this, check, did it work? The lean startup idea of learning involves some of that. Did what we do this time, how we changed our process, did that work for us or not? Right? And measure it. If you don't measure it, you have no idea. You have absolutely no idea at all. Right? Always ask yourself, did the change help? If so, why? If you don't know the answers to that, then find another way of measuring it. Do the same thing. And like I said, as homework, try a couple of these. Obviously, you can have the one person try. Let's see how well we can do this as a single individual trying to make their way in the world. Or, like I said, you can try and combine the teams. Still have the same number of teams, but each one is a full end-to-end operation. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'll put the slides up on SlideShow at some point to allow you to kind of take that way and think about it. Now, ignore that. In the enterprise, a lot of stuff has come about over the years. Some of it really, really good. So I think you've had a couple of these speakers here before, Mr. Marshall. Mm-hmm. Yep, with the antimatter principle and, of course, the Marshall model. There's loads and loads of ways of trying to deal with some of this complexity, because organizations naturally are complex and we don't have a full view of each individual system. I live, unfortunately, in this sort of area. As Royd said, I'm a kind of bit of I have an unhealthy interest rather in maths. So I do a lot of queuing theory stuff. So all this has come about through somewhat inconvenient ideas. I say inconvenient because although people talk about a lot of the flow stuff as if it's almost like a kind of magical, mythical capability that people have just by doing little bits here and there, the truth of the matter is there is a mathematical basis and statistical basis for all of it. Every single bit of it. If I've got the slide in now, I might show you some of the scribblings that I have just to illustrate one of those concepts. And you see people talk about, they criticize estimates, and this is where the cross out on the beginning slide comes in. Because the truth be told, estimates are just one half of the problem. That's your guess. If you don't actually do something, deliver it, you don't know if what you're doing is actually optimizing what that is. Now, an estimate can also be money, it can be time, it can be a business case. A business case is an estimate. You put in a business case, you have to go to the bank and you get a loan. You have to submit your business case. It's a total guess. Even the people who do no estimates, for example, and say, oh, you know, we just make everything a kind of large or a medium or whatever. That's fine. It has value, but the truth of the matter is, does a large thing deliver some unit of money? At the end of the day, we're all here to try and live, make money. Is there a profit or loss in this? You can't do that so much with a much more fuzzy concept. And also, don't forget that if you're doing this thing statistically, if you like, even if you use all estimates as numbers, at the beginning, you're going to be out whatever you like. There's not enough of a number of samples, if you like, not enough data points for you to make a reliable decision on it. You haven't got enough numbers. You need to have, you know, several hundreds. Even some of the criticisms that you see are based upon, oh, we had all these stories that came in the backlog. Yes, by the time you got to hear that, the statement between the size of tickets and average size of tickets rather and number of tickets is true. But remember, at the beginning, that will totally be false. It's what's called regression to the mean in statistics. It's as simple as that. So this argument, don't care. Not interested. Just you know, saying the estimates is the problem. Estimates cause burnout. Estimates cause whatever. It's a people problem. Truth be told, at the end of the day, right? But we're just as guilty about that in our industry as the managers were in the old. You might recognize this. Right? And you could probably not see that, but what that says is, I don't get it. After all the budget cuts and streamline the workforce, why aren't we moving faster? Well, you fired everybody. There's this one poor guy, you've got 4 managers. They are a waste of space. Yeah, unfortunately. Remember, you probably kept the 40% of the guys that were managing the waste. Well done. Right. In reality, the truths are, don't cut or impede the staff who deliver value. If you cut your fee earners, you cut your fee. Yeah? Simple as that. Oops. You okay? Still? Yeah. Did that? Yeah. If we keep me up, that's fine. Right. Don't forget that some cost is necessary to make value. That's true. The question is, how much of it do you not waste? Yeah? And how much that then goes to bring in value, and how much of that value do you then take as profit? Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah? So the cost of a context switch, even in here, the context switch is this guy. And stuff coming back. It takes time and money to do that, but guess what? You improve the flow by more than the cost of that switch. There's no such thing as a zero-cost context switch, ever. So the question is, how much can you make from that switch? In Kanban, even if you have boards, the fact is tasks move from board to board. If your Kanban column does not add a step of value, all you're doing is adding cost without adding value. Does that make sense? So I've made a lot of statements there. You know? So imagine you have 2 QA columns. In reality, you haven't QA'd something until it's past the second of those columns. You know? So actually, you've got 2 QA steps. That task is now waiting here. You spent money to get it there, right? And all you've done is let the money keep being spent over there without getting value from this guy. This guy hasn't paid for any of its development. Yeah? Just be aware of those elements of flow. It's not intuitive. I've seen companies that have developed 20, 30, 40 column Kanban boards. I'm like, do you have that much to go through every time you want to put something in the lab? Are you absolutely move, right? The point about it is get the value out of it, right? Because you can't spend money without getting value. Up until the point at which you're getting the value, everything else is potential waste, right? There are lots of other principles. As I've mentioned one of these already, any cost must have a corresponding value. Each value chain step must add value, or you're just increasing your costs. Yeah? And there's many, many more of these. Right? And like I said, sometimes the most inconvenient is this. It's something people hate. The fact is that people with MBAs or analysts or statisticians, they kind of do this all the time. That is flow. Do you see the Kanban columns at the top? Do you see the queue that's there? It's all queuing thing. It's all statistics. It's all variance. That's a really inconvenient truth. This is something people really do not like, because the truth of the matter is that means things are predictable. The control suddenly shifts back away from teams in a lot of cases, because a lot of people can't do this. And it's sad, but actually the truth of the matter is you can do it, and people should go through the process of optimizing themselves. Right? Don't get away from that. Right? And don't impose any sort of methodology, let's just say. Let people come to it, because what will often happen is some of them may get there anyway. And also, don't start from the beginning with this. Get the techniques, get the principles embedded. Yeah? Because that then gives the teams the understanding of how they work, and also allows them to gel. If people don't gel, you don't get this behavior anyway. And you just get massive variances here. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. But that, hands up here if this looks scary, be honest. Yeah. Right, okay. But that, unfortunately, like I have a postgrad in this, unfortunately. So for me, this is natural. This is how I think, unfortunately. And not many people do it, granted. But you don't need all this. You just need to kind of understand the principles, and some of this just generally emerges anyway. The question is, how do you guide it into that route? Yeah? Now, I want to talk about one final thing. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long. Just to pick up on a couple of points about projects. I hate projects, because projects are, unfortunately, deal with 15% of the software lifecycle. The other 85%, they're in production, being managed by someone else, not the project team. So I am all for no projects. Right? Because the truth of the matter is, what day is it today? What day is it today?
Tuesday.
Right. Huh? Tuesday, right? What day is it tomorrow? Wednesday. Is it the same as today? No, right? Accountants probably know this better than anybody. They have month ends. They have quarter ends. Year ends. They have a nightmare of a time during those periods trying to pay you guys. And me. Especially me, maybe. The point about it, though, is that making statements that our industry is static, our organization is static, is total false. Comet found that out the hard way. Blockbuster found that out the hard way. Yeah? Where are they now? Hello? To be aware that actually little bits of change happen all the time. When you employ someone new, when you move someone from one team to another, you're changing the organization at a micro level. Yeah? And you can use that to your advantage. Slow evolutionary change within organizations works as well as slow evolutionary change in software. Yeah, the principles are exactly the same. It's fractal in that regard. Yeah? But what's interesting, though, is if you looked at kind of how most projects are run, they're run dictatorially somewhat. If you manage by exception, raise things when they need escalating to the Scrum Masters, for example, or possibly to the product owners sometimes. Yeah? The point about it is that's managing by exception. You don't bother to tell anybody that you need to escalate. Don't need to tell any manager about something until you need to escalate it, until there's a blocker that's impeding your flow. Does everybody agree with that? Is that fair? Yeah? Cool. Right, perfect. But here's maybe another inconvenient truth. Prince 2 introduced the concept of manage by exception. We were criticizing it for too much documentation. Right? The template organization is true. However, Prince 2 manages by exception. For those people that have been through the certification programs, manage by exception is a core tenet. The certification industry is obviously very big in Prince 2. The core tenet is that it's managed by exception. Only escalate if you need to. Right? Otherwise, the teams just give a highlight report. You know what a highlight report is? It's a stand-up, basically. Yeah? That's it. Simple as that. Yeah? So what you've done is there's a lot of stuff that's in Prince 2 that actually somehow makes its way into either Scrum or XP. Not that anybody wants to admit that. Right? And the key again is talking about projects versus product. I'm not going to go into that anymore because, of course, it's been covered so eloquently by Martin. Well done, thank you. So actually, you've saved me quite a lot of this because it's just text. Anyway, and there's ways of some of the ways of reducing waste, working together to reduce systemic waste, because that's the problem. It's possible to be locally optimal. Teams may be very, very good at what they do individually, but actually overall, systemically, the behavior is suboptimal. Because they've optimized what they do really, really well, but actually it gets worse. So a typical example, sysops, again. When development teams became more agile and they were delivering every 2 weeks instead of every 3 months, what happened? Sysops couldn't keep up. They suddenly had to try and, how many people's companies got into this habit of suddenly trying to squeeze them into kind of time boxes? Oh, we're going to deploy this at this point. How many? Mine, a couple of mine did. Yeah. Anybody else's? The point about it is that you deliver 5 times quickly, they've now got to somehow find 5 more slots to put you in. 5 times more, as many slots to put everybody else in. Does that make sense? Yeah? So that's a suboptimal process. We've done really, really well in development, which is no bad thing, but because we don't get the value until it's done, for those people that use Scrum, done, right? You suddenly have this gap where you've done your bit. Yes, we've been fantastic, we've done trunks. But until you deliver it out into live, you have no value. And not just that, you therefore have moved the constraint from possibly software development somewhere else. That's okay, that's their constraints. Just chase it, fix it, make it better, please. Right? So that's the key point. And because of the combination of these changes, the ideas of products versus projects, and ongoing change, I'm a big advocate of the no projects movement. I believe Alan Kelly lives on this side of the Pennines, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, no projects, bang on, spot on, absolutely the way it should be, because it's continual change as an organization. Don't set up brand new teams who spend half their time arguing, and then only to then do a thing, deliver it into live, and go back to the respective exercises. That doesn't work. That sort of thing is constant, big bang, everything. Right? Even if within the teams deliver in an agile sort of way, you haven't got the end-to-end view because you're not managing the 85% of the lifetime of the product. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool, perfect. Excellent. Right, and just finally, I want to kind of cover, as a bit of bonus material, some of the 7 wastes. Wastes. For those people familiar with lean principles, there are 7 acknowledged wastes and 1 candidate. Right? Transportation. Inventory, that means buying too much stock. Right? Motion. We talked about columns being motion, yeah, as well, and also motion across the table in this case. Whatever way you want to look at it, stuff moves. Waiting. How was the golf? Were you waiting around? Yeah, so the point about it is that conversation that was happening here, whilst we were waiting for stuff to happen, you were paying them anyway, weren't you? Well, over-processing. Gold plating, that's what over-processing is. That's one example of over-processing, yeah. Overproduction, making too many and not selling them, because you've spent the money to make them. Yeah. Defects, of course, because of course bugs, when they come back into the system, what happens? Stop everything! We've got a fire, put it out. Yeah? Bugs in the system. Increase quality, reduce bugs, you automatically gain a benefit on flow, because you're not interrupting your resources to fix a problem. Does that make sense? Yeah? So that's why quality is a good thing to increase. And latent skill, that means if you've got people in your organization who know how to do this stuff, let them do it. They have the skills for that reason. They are probably some of the people that can actually totally help you do this. Right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, as you saw in commercial organizations, it all comes down to one thing. Now, make the most of this. That's an investment. Yeah? We cool? Yes? No? Can't hear you. Yeah, no, okay, exactly. Right, cool. And that is me. Thank you.